Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where we try to demystify complex technologies and talk about them in a language that everyone can understand. And as digital currencies and NFTs enter the mainstream, I'm going to ask you, where do you store your crypto? Because if you keep them on an exchange, many will remind you that, hey, they're not your keys, they're not your coins. And if you're one step ahead of that, you might be adding them to a hot wallet that is connected online. But today, I want to explore the vulnerabilities digital asset holders face by using hot wallets that are connected to the internet, as opposed to transferring their assets to cold wallets, which are offline, never connected to the internet, and therefore cannot be attacked. So for this topic, I've enlisted the help of my friend Ruben, the CEO and co-founder of NGrave, which is one of the most secure consumer crypto hardware wallets out there. We last spoke 2 years ago. It was also about time we had a catch-up. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Belgium, where Ruben is waiting to join us. So a massive warm welcome back to the show, Ruben. We last spoke 2 years ago, but can you remind the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yes. So my name is still Ruben, so that's already good news. I am especially a lifelong learner, so I have a thirst for knowledge that I, in a way, don't seem to be able to get satisfied, let's say. And I would say that these days, my life, at least in the last years, have been revolved all around NGrave, so my company. And what we do at NGrave, in a nutshell, we protect crypto investors and we protect NFT investors to the greatest extent possible, or at least that's what we try to do. And so it's literally our mission to empower you as a crypto or NFT investor to actually have the tools to master your own wealth. So we really want to give you easy to use, maximum security wallets, so to say, so that you can effectively think about other things. You can just let your money grow for you, and you can live the life you want. So sort of in one word, you could say we just want freedom for everybody. And my key role there is I'm one of the co-founders. I happen to be the CEO. And you can imagine that every single day we work on that promise of, let's say, that internal promise of protecting 500 million users with our technology by 2032. So that's really what drives us. We've been in this market with this company for 4 years, which you could say in a traditional world probably is equal to 40 years because it's a fast moving industry. We're kind of old men by now after this time.
And as you said, yes, 2 years later, your name's still Ruben, and yes, NGrave is still one of the most secure consumer crypto hardware wallets out there. But 2 years have passed, and the world was a very different place when we last spoke, and also we now find ourselves back in crypto winter. So I've got to ask, what has changed at NGrave since we last spoke in June 2020? Any big announcements?
Yeah, sure. I think if you look at it from our perspective, every month is sort of a leapfrog compared to the previous one. And what we also do these days, so we have quite a few employees by now, is that we do sort of a monthly, let's say, all hands meeting. We call it, according to the jargon, we have to keep an ice cave meeting. And that typically shows us really, really tangibly well how far we actually progress in just a single month. And if we look back 2020, when we had our interview, it was also around June, July. We actually were doing our first pre-order campaign on Indiegogo. We eventually closed that out with an absolute record. It was about $450,000 of pre-order sales that we did then in a single month, still in the bear market and still with the, let's say, financial uncertainty that came with COVID-19. In the meantime, we have also shipped all of these orders all around the world. We have upped our sales to be a presence of around 90 countries. The team has grown. All the devices that were ordered so far have been shipped. We've actually have, let's say we've shipped out the 1.0 version. Today we are working on the 1.3. There will be a fully new revamp of the mobile application coming out in August. So it's no longer the same company in a sense, but the values have always remained the same. And the people who have joined the company all share these values. And I think culture is one of the most important things of a company that we've been very successful in staying true to our own principles.
And I'd say another big it's kind of a change really, because yes, the growing problem of phishing and hacking has continued, but I think one of the things we've seen over the last 2 years is that's going much more to crypto and to NFTs. We've seen so many big hacks, but what kind of things have you seen over the last few years?
Yeah, I think, we started NGrave because of a huge security problem in the space. So a valid question would be, is that security still such an issue? And so when we started in 2018, it was the record year of $2.5 billion in stolen crypto, in theft. Fast forward 4 years, and we're looking at more than $14 billion in 2021. And if we look at 2022, there's just so many new things coming up. Let's say bridges between different blockchains is an interesting one. And there's so much still to do there that, if you just look at the hacks that happen on one concept, on the bridge concept, we were talking billions in 2022 alone. So security has not gone down. Security issues have not gone down, and they've actually become far worse. And that means that the need for us is even bigger. And another trend where we've been seeing, unfortunately, lately is that the so-called DeFi platforms turn out to be CeFi platforms that turn out to be very centralized. I'm not going to name any names, but what you see is these platforms that say, come to us, unbank yourself, and start interacting with DeFi in the way that the blockchain or that crypto or Bitcoin under Satoshi Nakamoto actually wanted it, without intermediaries. That actually is sort of a wordily packaging of something that is far worse than banks, because banks still have this, let's say, $100,000 that they sort of have to pay you if anything goes wrong. Crypto doesn't have that. At the same time, we also see now that these bank runs are blocked, so people cannot access their funds right now with several of these platforms. And so the narrative towards self-custody, towards truly owning your own keys and owning your own crypto, is actually becoming a loud one, and louder. So we are here at the right time. People are looking for us. People are looking for an easy maximum security solution. And I think we really hit all the buttons there, or all the check marks into what a user actually needs. And so for us, it's exciting times.
It really is. And that's one of the reasons I invited you back on the podcast today, because I think more and more users are beginning to take security more seriously. And for anybody that's not aware of the threats, can I ask that you expand on the kind of vulnerabilities that digital asset holders are facing right now by using hot wallets that are connected to the internet, as opposed to transferring assets to cold wallets, which are offline and therefore cannot be attacked? Because it's something that not everybody realizes, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the more I look at this myself, the more the concept of hot wallets. It's really the moment you are online. That's always been our narrative. You open the box of Pandora, right? So even if you make the slightest connection, be it USB or Bluetooth, how even some of the cold wallets work, you're actually allowing all these hackers out there to at least try to attack you. So, for example, our wallet, Zero, is 100% offline purely because of that reason. Because the moment you have that tiny little connection, they can actually try to exploit it. And if you look at hot wallets in particular, if you get your key or your keys from an online source, first of all, you don't know how they made that key. So the key generation process might actually be quite bad. Second, they give it to you in an online settings, so there might be a risk that somebody's eavesdropping. Third, maybe they actually have a database of the keys themselves and they just steal from you whenever they want. And fourth, if you keep, let's say in the cases of MetaMask, a great wallet, by the way, and we're integrating with them. But if you look at how they give you a key, they tell you either write it down on a piece of paper from the online screen, or just download a file and keep it on your computer. So, I mean, I myself am not a hacker, but I have, of course, a lot of hackers in my team and so on. If I ask them the simple job to target you and steal your crypto, it's just a matter of effort and time. So yeah, I mean, you're just completely out in the open if you have a hot wallet. And if you would outsource it to an exchange, like where we have thousands of exchange these days, the problem there is even worse, because you actually don't even get to see any of these keys. You just get a password to the platform, you can log in, and you can ask a third party that actually owns the crypto, can I move this crypto around? And many let's say exploits of that concept have also happened over time and are actually all sort of materializing today in the open. So people actually see what can happen if you follow the online wallet trend. And the good thing is that at least people now realize that cold wallets are a necessity and are crucial in keeping your security at a good level.
And for anybody that's listening and hearing about this and maybe wanting to try NGrave, can you tell me a little bit more how users are better protected using NGrave, and maybe even walk me through how a user can get up and running as well? Because as you said, as soon as you go online, you're opening up Pandora's box. So can you walk me through how to get up and running and the kind of better protection that users can get as a result of doing that?
Sure. So the challenge we set ourselves when we started was sort of, let's say, threefold. First, we wanted to never compromise on security, even if it was a super slight, let's say, risk. Second, it needed to be 21st century. So if you think about that, cold wallets today are still sort of elevated flash drives. We said it needs to be tapping and swiping through your crypto. It needs to be fast, easy, intuitive, and really like in a slick design. These cold wallets are typically physical devices, so we wanted something that was also, let's say, sexy. And the third thing that we found very important to us, we had to look at the end-to-end of your decentralized user journey. So it's not just giving you, let's say, a hardware wallet, a cold wallet, and then leaving it all up to you. It was really going from how do you actually create such a strong key, because everything stands and falls with your good key in crypto, and go all the way through your user journey up until the point where, unfortunately, you have to pass on to the next life, and you have to pass on your wealth to your children. And all along the way, we realized that there were incredibly big holes. So even in the first step that we would call step 0, how do you create a strong key? We realized that out there, if we look at the existing solutions, being banks, other hardware wallets, and so on, they all also have physical devices that create keys. But unfortunately, these keys are actually not secure, and the quality of them is not what it should be. And there are actually backdoors in these keys. So even in the first very step, we realized that we had to revamp the key generation process. And eventually this led us to a new key called the NGrave Perfect Key, about which we wrote a white paper in the beginning, and which was also one of the reasons why Jean-Jacques Quisquater, who's a second reference of the Bitcoin paper, one of the most renowned cryptographers in the world, eventually joined our company, because he was also an expert in backdooring, let's say, these true random number generation chips, so the chips that actually create your keys. So in a nutshell, we have to invent a new key, the NGrave Perfect Key, and it sort of accompanies you all throughout the full journey you go through. So if you make your wallet, if you make new, let's say, if you make a Bitcoin account out of that and so on, up until the point where you have to make a strong backup, and even recovering your keys when you pass away. So the Perfect Key actually plays a role throughout all those aspects as a red thread. And so to come back a bit to your question, so how do we create keys? How do you set up your wallet? Very easy, yes. So you have a simple offline device with a nice touchscreen that guides you through the whole experience. The device never connects, so you actually make in a fully offline setting your keys together with the device. So we use the same chips as let's say the broader industry does, but we have modified a few things. Like, for example, we use factors that come from outside of the chip, outside of the device, like your biometrics become part of your key, and so on. And we actually let you interact with the key. So imagine you have an offline key with that is extremely long string, and you just change a few characters in that string that allows you already to have a key that nobody else can guess anymore. So we basically just guide you through your offline setup of your master key, you could call it. And out of that master key, your device will create a whole universe of different crypto wallets. And you can choose them all yourself. So you could say, I want 20 Bitcoin wallets, I want 5 Ethereum wallets, I want 17 other different coins. You can tell the device all of this. The device will create all of these little accounts with their own private keys, so the access keys for each account. And let's say if at some point you would lose the device, you just buy a new one, you enter that single NGrave perfect key, the master key, and your whole universe of wallets that you created before will be restored. So it's extremely powerful mathematical derivations in the world of cryptography. But for the user, it's just like I have one key, the key recreates everything I have. So at the same time, it's very easy to use from the front end. On top of the device, which is called Zero, we have a mobile application, and we basically share your accounts. You could see it as you're sharing sort of your bank accounts, but then these are on the blockchain. So for example, you share one Bitcoin account, one Ethereum account. You can do that by telling the device that you want to share those with your mobile application. Your device will create a QR code on the screen, and your mobile application will actually be able to scan that QR code, and in that way load up, we call it sync, the accounts to the mobile app itself. And then from there on, the app itself is connected to the blockchain, and it will fetch all the historic data that it has on your accounts. So in the beginning, normally your accounts will be empty, and the moment you start using them, you will be able to see in real time how much is my crypto worth, what is my portfolio doing, did my transaction go through. And the way we interact with Zero to actually sign transactions is we initiate them on the app. We show a QR code to the device. The device has a camera. It scans the QR code. It shows you, the user, what you're about to sign. You can sign it with your biometrics and with a PIN code, and you show a QR code back to your mobile application. And that QR code contains the transaction signature, which goes to the blockchain. So it's sort of super intuitive, easy, and fast, because everybody already knows how QR codes work. So, and at the same time, it's also extremely secure, because you never share your private keys, so your secret access keys in these interactions. And at the same time, let's say you take a random phone, you scan what's in that QR code, you can see to the detail what's in there, right? So we can't hide any secret information in the QR code. So what I mean is, it's sort of security through transparency. So even if you are not very savvy into cryptography, you see what you sign, right? And that's important. If you think about other wallets, they use Bluetooth, they use USB. There you don't have that. It's really a black box experience. So by using QR codes, we're more secure and actually also more transparent. And it also makes the security easier to understand for the end user. And that's in the interaction between the Zero and then Liquid, our mobile application. And then we also have sort of had to invent a completely new concept of backup, so that you can actually keep a backup of your NGrave perfect key. In the event you would lose your hardware device, and then you just buy a new one. You take that backup, you type in the key into your new device, and all your wallets will be restored.
And as the ex-IT guy, I've got to ask the question, what happens if the unthinkable was to occur and you lose that master key? Is there any way back, or is that it?
Yeah, so today's status quo solution for that is that you write down your master key on a piece of paper, which is obviously incredibly, don't do it, right? So what we've developed to make this better is called Graphene, and it's a stainless steel solution, so your house can burn down and it will still be there. It's also encrypted, so it basically consists of two different plates that you can keep on a separate location. if you put them back together, you can actually see your initial key. And that's the key that you would have to import into your wallet. This is important because today, if I find your piece of paper with all your words or with your master key, then I actually know what your key is. So in our case, even if you find the backup, you don't know what to do with it. And thirdly, we also made the backup recoverable without any third-party risk. So we will never know what your key is, but if you lose your backup, we actually have a way of recovering it for you. So for us, that's sort of the idea behind us trying to get you as close as you can to never losing your keys again, which is far, far more advanced than obviously a sheet of paper.
Fantastic. Incredibly cool. And when I was looking up you guys to find out what I'd been missing over the last few years, I also read that NGrave had got a $6 million seed round. Can you expand on that and what it means to you guys?
So for us, what we want to do is we want to protect 500 million users by 2032. And to do that, we could go slow and we could basically just see what comes in revenues and reinvest that. But obviously that will never get us to the speed or let's say to the size we want to be at to actually be able to fulfill that promise. So therefore we look for external capital. You can get that in terms of debt, in terms of equity, which are then shares like a capital raise, like the $6 million round. And obviously we use a full combination of all of these so that we can actually sort of speed up the growth in a healthy way. And the $6 million we raised was exactly for that purpose, so that we can actually keep building other technology. The device needs to be upgraded here and there to make it even more powerful and interesting for the user. We wanted to build out a full team, of course. So today we are about 35 people at NGrave. And the go-to-market is, of course, a very big part of the whole thing. And if you don't have marketing budget, it becomes quite difficult to scale fast. So the 6 million was sort of what we at that time found relevant to be able to grow the team, to scale the company in a size that would, let's say, set us or make us ready for the next phase. And we're continuously raising funds. We are raising funds today as well, because obviously, if you want to get to our promise, we need to, we also need a war chest. And if you think about the crypto space, you always have bear markets. So it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of a cushion either when such a bear market comes knocking. And I think these days we are in quite a significant bear market in crypto. I haven't seen something like this in a long time, if even ever.
And you mentioned the bear market there, and there has been so much talk around crypto winter, and that's been documented many, many times. I think enough has been said without me and you adding to that. So I'm going to say, what excites you about the future of crypto and where we're heading? And is there anything in particular that you're monitoring closely or excited about?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I view it quite a bit from the perspective of the security side, and I think the security consciousness is at least starting to be a bit more apparent. And what I also mean with that is if you look today at all of these projects out there, they all have an extreme bias towards growth. So they look at revenues, adoption, users, and security is one of those ancillary administrative processes that they look at as some of the last things they look at. And that's a bit unfortunate. And now we also start to see sort of cracks everywhere that show the dead bodies in the closet, so to say. So for us personally, I'm extremely excited about how far we have come, what amazing technology we have built, the people we have partnered with, and the people who work with us and for us. But if I look at the broader industry, there is just so much innovation going on, and the bear market is typically something that sort of sheds out the projects that are just not worthy to actually survive over the long term. The good projects will hopefully come out. And I mean, if you look at all of these different things that are going on, like the metaverse, there's just the concept of the metaverse alone is completely mind-blowing if you think about what it could mean for basically every single aspect of our lives. And also there, again, you need security, because suddenly it's not just your Bitcoin that will need private keys, but your own digital self will need private keys to protect the clothes you're wearing there, to protect the fact that you are you there, any personal information you have. For security is such a big topic that you can rest assured that we will keep innovating alongside the industry to make sure that nothing happens to you, even in the digital realm.
Love that. And what about yourselves and NGrave? Where do you go from here? Is there anything you can share for any of your community members that might be listening in, just hoping for a bit of an update on what you're focusing on? But is there anything you can share?
First of all, obviously we have to keep building out the Zero. So I think what's so nice about Zero is also, if you compare it, it's a good comparison to a Tesla car in the sense that you get that piece of hardware. It stands there and it does the job. Or V1.0 was sort of an empty Tesla almost. Obviously, it had a lot of features, but my point is that over time you can actually upgrade your Tesla. You just send an update to it, and it becomes actually a better, completely different car. With Zero, it's the exact same thing. So the hardware is there. It actually has achieved a high security certification in the world. So when we speak about the form factor, about the actual security of it, it's as robust as it can get. And at the same time, we can actually keep updating it from the outside, firmware updates to make it support more coins. NFTs are already supported, for example. And in the near future, we will also be able to help businesses with securely signing transactions with several managers together, for example. We call that multi-signature or basically just governance for a company. So NGrave will evolve into an ecosystem. We're not just a hardware wallet company, we're a security company with a lot of different angles. I don't want to talk too much about that yet, because I think we just need to focus. And focus today is on making sure that our retail customers have an amazing product and that we also keep building on our promises there. But over time, and that depends, of course, again, on funding and so on, we want to protect everything that's out there. And to do that, we will have to do many more things. We'll have to create new verticals in NGrave as a company. So in a nutshell, I would say we're now a product-based company and we're evolving towards a full ecosystem.
Some of the biggest names in business, VC funding, crypto and tech have either been guests on this show or listened to this podcast. So is that a person that you'd love to have a private breakfast or lunch with or bump into a tech conference? And maybe put a shout out to the universe and I'll see if I can connect you to. But is there anyone that springs to mind that you'd love to have a chat and a sit down with?
That's a very nice question. Actually, yes. I'm probably the least idolatric person out there. Like, I don't really have idols. But I do think that sitting down with Dan Moorhead, the CEO of Pantera, that would be that's something that I would greatly appreciate.
That would need to be a night out, I think, and a night to remember for sure. And for anyone listening that would just like to find out more information about NGrave and all the topics we've explored today, and maybe even join your community, what's the best starting point for everything?
NGrave.io.
Excellent. Well, I'll add that link to the show notes along with your socials and everything. I think it's so important to explore the topics that we've raised today, especially the vulnerabilities that digital asset holders face by using hot wallets that are connected to the internet. As you said, that's when Pandora's box is open. But more than anything, just thanks for joining me again today, Ruben.
Thank you. Thank you, Neil.
I think we've all seen the growing problem of phishing and hacking scams, which have impacted users on Axie Infinity, OpenSea, and the Bored Ape Yacht Club. And it's great to talk about the vulnerabilities that digital asset holders face by using hot wallets that are connected to the internet, as opposed to transferring their assets to a cold wallet, which is offline and cannot be attacked. But where do you keep your crypto and NFTs safe? Is it time for a security upgrade? What would you do? What would you not do? Please share anything that you've learned in the last few years and email me now, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, @NeilC.Hughes. We'll keep this conversation going and share a few things on what we should do and what we shouldn't do as we patiently wait to get out of crypto winter. But that's it for today. So a big thank you as always for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.